Welcome to the Lehigh Business Family Week session. My name is Associate Dean Katrina Zalatan, or the person students call Dean Z. And I just want to let you know we're very glad you could join us this evening. As the title of our session suggests, we really want to give you a good sense of what happens in the first and the second year in our Lehigh Business program. And we chose this topic because typically a lot of parents who attend our sessions during Family Week are first-year parents. But regardless of whether your student is a first year, a sophomore, junior, senior, or even if you are coming from another college, which we often get families who are coming in from other colleges to learn about our school, we want to welcome you and hope you get something really useful out of tonight's session. We have a really good panel and we're sure it's going to be the best session that we're really excited to give to you today. So the great panel that we have here this evening are people who are very engaged in different aspects of our student experience. We tried to bring in the folks from whom a lot of information is usually asked, especially for first year and sophomore students. I'm very pleased to say that we have tonight Emily Ford, who is our Assistant Dean who oversees advising. We have Chiquita Griffin, who is the Associate Director who oversees our professional development programs for the business students, and she also helps oversee and support our student clubs, which is really important. As well as we're very fortunate to have faculty member Matt Gilchrist here. Dr. Gilchrist is the director of our Rauch Center for Business Communication, and it's really neat because he also coordinates one of the new sequences in our curriculum. He's responsible for our business communications sequence. A lot of employers have been asking that, so we're really delighted to have him here tonight. So in terms of our format, you may notice we don't have any slides. We decided we wanted to make the format very similar to what we would do if you were on campus. And normally, during a family week, we'd have the session on Saturday, the football game would be coming up, and we usually try to pick the room that has the best vantage point for the leaves, which happen to be really beautiful in the Lehigh Valley right about now. But what we're going to settle for our Zoom call and still hopefully create that family atmosphere, get some Q&A going. I'm going to start by having some questions of our panel. And what I'm going to do is at the bottom of your screen, you'll notice there's a question and answer box. So if you have any questions that you want to make sure we answer, or you have questions as we're going through the panel, just put a question in the question box. I actually have my question box pulled up, and I'm going to try to be really technically sophisticated here this evening, and I'll look at the questions as we're going through some of the things that we had hoped to share with you, and hopefully we can give you all the information that you're looking for. I also am told to be sure I let you know that the session is being recorded this evening in the unlikely event that you're going to be pulled away from our riveting session, but you're certainly welcome to watch it later. I believe it's going to be posted on the Family Week website, so that's where you need to be looking for that information. So I think we're ready to go with our panel. Is everybody ready? We revved up, we have our Lehigh gear on. Okay, all right. So I'm going to start with one of the most popular question areas, which is academics. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to be pointing this one towards Matt. I'm not sure where he is on your screen, but he's over here for me. So normally, we'll start with the first year. So the first year courses, the whole first year in the business school is very foundational, right? So for those of you who are in the audience, I'm sure your students spend hours on the phone telling you about the curriculum, but generally it has a foundation, right? So they learn about business, they learn about, it's a Biz 1, and they learn about the foundations of business and how the functions of business work together to create value in the firm, explore careers, but they also have to get an orientation to the tools of analysis. So they're going to be learning about things like statistics and calculus and developing those critical thinking skills. We have exposure to the economic environment. They get Eco 1. And all of that comes together. But the real highlight is also our new sequences. We started those, Matt, what did we start them about a year ago? But I think
last year. Yep.
Last year was the first year we did it. So Matt, why don't you just give us a real high-level overview of the sequences? And I know you actually are running the business communication sequence, so maybe you can give us some sense of what that means and what we mean by sequence.
Sure. Well, I'll start with business communication because that's the one that I'm familiar with.
It's the most important one, right?
So business communication sequence has 2 classes, and the 2 are the first that a student takes in their first year within the College of Business. That's Business 3, also known as Business Communication 1. And that class introduces them primarily to being able to, write in the level of discourse that we would expect at a college level in a business college, and also prepare them for writing in a professional context. So we teach them a lot about how to write a memo, a report, an email, things like that. But we also teach a little bit about oral communication, like conversation, and students actually do an informational interview with someone they admire. At the end of the semester, students are generating a large form report and working in a group to create a podcast that reflects on their experience in the semester. Now, we do all of this against the backdrop of an experiential learning project called the Purpose Project. And in the Purpose Project, students are exploring the meaning of personal purpose in order to hopefully one day find work in which they find a satisfying purpose. We know that that's very important for graduates to be able to leave the university looking towards a future that they can imagine themselves in and finding purpose, finding fulfillment in their careers. So we help them to start thinking about it now. In fact, one thing that they read about is a study that shows that students who start thinking about purpose early in their college career, and students, of course, who have an experiential learning requirement and perhaps something like an internship or a mentor in college, those things all combine to make professionals who feel fulfilled and satisfied in their careers. That's much of what we're after. Additionally, we want students to start thinking about, the reasons that they're pursuing a business degree and what that might mean for them in the future. So all of that's folded into the Purpose Project. And in the Purpose Project, they're communicating, yes, with me, the professor, and with the rest of the faculty team that teaches the course. But additionally, they're often communicating with real live audiences outside of the classroom. So they're learning to communicate while they're doing legitimate communication. So that's the first course, and they're introduced to communication in the discourse of the business college in that course. And then when they reach their junior year, they take the follow-up course, which is Business Communication 2. And in that class, they begin actually by reflecting back on what they learned in Biz 3, because for some of them, it will have been 2 years earlier that they took our first class. And so they reflect back and think about their own personal professional identity. And they work on things like practicing for an interview, polishing up their resume and their cover letter, and practicing that kind of interpersonal communication that's going to be super important in their first internship or their first entry-level job. So we work on that in the first half of the semester, and in the second half of the semester, we do kind of the corollary to the Purpose Project, and we ask students to start thinking about a company's purpose, because they've reflected on their own reasons for pursuing a particular career. And by their junior year, they're really looking forward to getting engaged with that. Mm-hmm. Now they have to start looking for firms that are going to support their goals, the students' goals, and really firms that will align with the students' values, with their hopes and dreams for the future. And so we want them to start looking at firms and the identity of firms. So the communication that we build into the second half of that junior level class has students really exploring the idea of corporate identity through a project on corporate social responsibility. So they work in groups to generate a large-scale report that involves a lot of visual communication and oral communication. So it's, again, the corollary to Biz 3, where they've learned in that first year course a lot about writing communication. And in this class, they're going to learn about oral communication and presentational skills. So that's one sequence among the three, and each of the three sequences is equally interesting and engaging for students, and I must say rigorous. Students have to work and they have to put in some effort for these classes to succeed. Even though they are part of our core, right? They're not courses that students can simply skate by in. We really want them to engage in a deep and meaningful way with these concepts. Mm-hmm. So the sequence also includes a management sequence. The first course is organizational behavior. And in that class, they learn all about the kinds of management determinations that they're going to have to make when they move into leadership positions in the future. They learn about business ethics and group level dynamics and things like that. Mm-hmm. The second management follow-on course, again, which they'll probably take in their junior year, is called Leadership in Organizations. And this is where they really, start to study what it means to be a leader. and how do they lead in an organization in their future. So the third sequence is a business information systems sequence. And here's where they really learn the fundamentals of analytics, which are so important in today's business world. Knowing how to deal with numbers, knowing how to deal with large data sets, and come to really effective conclusions about what you're seeing in those data and make great recommendations based on that is going to be the hallmark of a really skilled business person in the years ahead. So we want them to have some early exposure to that, and they get that in the first level class. Again, in their first year within the college, they take BIS 44, which is called Business Analytics 1. And that class gets them used to dealing with data, organizing data, working with, they work in the programming language R, and they learn how data is structured and what they can do with it. The follow-on course then is BIS 244, that's Business Analytics 2. And in that class, they're doing projects that involve them in communicating the story of data alongside what they do in Business Communication 2 and Business Analytics 2. They're learning how to visualize data effectively and also work in more sophisticated ways with all of the data that they'll be working with in the future.
So you can see why those are great additions to the curriculum, right? Because they're the heavy hitters, the business communication. I love the corporate social responsibility aspect. I know we talk a lot about that in Biz 1 as students are beginning to think about the responsibility of business and society. So it's really exciting to hear that they get that in that course and they're actually learning to communicate around that. So you're talking about our sequences, and I have to talk about Biz 1 a little bit because I coordinate that. I'd be remiss not to mention it. It's a great course, and probably one of the most exciting things about that class is the project. So if you're a parent of a first-year student, definitely ask them about the Biz 3 project, the Purpose project. If they're not in Biz 3 yet, you could tell them about it and that it's coming. But in Biz 1, our project is really just exploring different functions of business and what the possibilities are out there. It's a really nice segue into exploring the core curriculum that they have in the sophomore year, where they're actually taking the introductory courses. So it's kind of a nice precursor. But the most exciting part about it is what Chiquita Griffin can tell us about, which is the whole part about integrating our professional development into that class. So Chiquita, could you tell us a little bit more about how we've partnered in Biz 1, which I'm just delighted to do, and how that fits into your broader vision for a student to professional program? Which is
Most
really
definitely. I think, again, it's such a great partnership that students are able to take Biz 1 and have this early exposure. Walking through the project, it's really timed and paced well that the students, each deliverable, we also have a Friday session during their recitations, which are led by myself and a colleague from our Center for Career and Professional Development. And during those sessions, we introduce the students to their online resources. So we have a platform called Handshake, where all of the jobs and internships of our employer partners are posted. We have a lot of different websites and links where students can do career exploration or find out about the day in the life of, you name it, in terms of the profession. And so, we were able to really step back and say, when are students introduced to these resources, how do they get to learn about them? And so we structured it so that the project gives them an introduction to these resources. We had just the last session was a panel with 2 of our employer partner recruiters.
Absolutely awesome.
As well as 2 upper class students who have already secured their full-time positions, 2 seniors. And so they were able to talk to the students in Biz 1 about what does recruiting look like at Lehigh, or, what was their experience in terms of finding internships that ultimately led to a full-time position. And I think this knowledge is so valuable for our first-year students to hear, because our employer partners recruit early. I think a lot of our students were very surprised during that panel to hear that by the spring of your sophomore year, you should be fully invested in the interview process to secure the internship that you'll have the summer after your junior year, right? So that is over a year in advance that some of our employers are recruiting for these internships. And now I always have to put this caveat that that's not the same across all of our industries, right? It can look very different, but especially for our finance, accounting students who are pursuing some of the bigger companies, right? It's a very early and established process. And so a big part of this project is having the students go through as a group and for this class, these resources that we then want them to utilize for their personal development moving forward.
It works out really well. And so when they do these projects, those projects are going to be due in just another week, right? I think they have one more week. We have working sessions in class, and then they have to submit their presentations. And then the fun begins because starting in, what is it, the October, I don't even know my dates, but not next week, but the week after, team after team is going to be presenting every week. They're going to share their knowledge. So every student in that class will get to learn about the deep dive that students did for their field and the people that they interviewed. And I know in the class every year I watch the professions that they choose, the jobs, the people they interview. It's just incredibly interesting. And they make really good audiences to each other because they're very curious. We just have wonderful first-year students. I have to interject. I see we have a question, so keep them coming, families. Keep them coming. We want to know you're out there. This particular question, I think this will go more toward you, Chiquita. It says, my first-year son tells me that there are really no internships available for students. Is this the reality?
Well, I think that's not necessarily the reality. Again, depending on the industry, some have much more structured processes than others. So to take accounting, for example, and if a student is looking at one of the big 4 accounting firms, Lehigh has great partnerships with all of those firms, and they have a structure in place where, no, they're not offering internships to first-year students, and then they'll typically start interviewing the sophomores in the spring semester for those junior internships or for some different leadership program type opportunities. Mm-hmm. Then on the flip side, right, you have perhaps, let's say, if you're interested in marketing, or I know a lot of our students who have more data-oriented internships, there's definitely opportunities available for first-year students. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot of times first-year students may not be that prime target audience that are getting the email blasts and hearing about all the opportunities. I would certainly say that starts more in your sophomore year. But if a first-year student is willing to put in the legwork, work with our Center for Career and Professional Development, you know, utilize the resources that they've learned about in Biz 1, they can certainly find opportunities. Mm-hmm.
And I love when, I think it was this past Friday, there are a lot of students who start asking about questions about getting internships very early. And like you said, it's very different for different fields. But I love how you guys were talking about get experience.
Yes.
So whether or not it's an internship per se, there are so many ways to build experience, especially for younger students.
Yeah, our employers want to hear about your transferable skills. Mm-hmm. So whether you are working retail, working at a summer camp, having an official internship, it's really about that ability during the next interview to talk about what skills did you learn from that experience? How has it prepared you, to take advantage of what you're now interviewing for? So our employer partners have said time and time again, they'd rather see some sort of experience, again, regardless of what it is, than no experience.
Mm-hmm. I love when the recruiters are saying things like, learn a language, do something different with your time, show that you're developing. I just loved hearing that. So I see the questions are coming in and I'd love to see them, so keep them coming. I'm gonna turn to Emily Ford, who is the head of our advising. Emily, could you tell us a little bit about the advising that the students are receiving? I'm beginning to see a lot of questions coming in about programs and curriculum. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what kind of advising first-year student gets and maybe how that develops into the sophomore year, because that'll set a context, because a lot of questions about majors and courses and multiple credentials, they're going to come to you for help. So tell us a little bit more about your group, what you do.
Sure, thank you. So we're a team of 4 advisors, and we work closely together with our students. We each are assigned a group of students based on the first letter of last name, but like I said, we all really do work together. And right now we're doing all of our appointments virtually through Zoom. and it's worked out really well. We've had good feedback from students. We've been trying to ask them, see if there's anything we can be doing differently to help them in a better way. But it seems to be going well. We meet with students all the time, so students can make an appointment one-on-one, or sometimes we'll have like different types of workshops or events, depending, of course, where we are. Right now, we are in the mid. We also have we call drop-in hours. We used to call them walk-in hours. Each Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. So there's always an advisor in our virtual office space. So and that's gone really well. We are pretty soon going to be starting to think about registration for the spring semester, although it seems like we just started. It is flying by. And so we're gearing up for that. And so we're going to be meeting with each of the first year students. We'll also give them the option to we'll do like a webinar about registration, what to expect. So it's been a really good experience. And I would encourage your students to reach out to their advisors. We at the end, we'll put up a website that has all of our kind of contact information, but if they're not sure who their advisor is or if they have any questions, they can always reach out to any of us and we'll redirect them.
Okay. Before we get into that, I see there are a lot of really good questions. This one is a relatively easy one that kind of ties into what you were just saying. It says, can students select a major in the business school and a minor or concentration in arts and sciences like history, political science, and is it easy to make the schedule work? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. We do encourage students to pursue minors through arts and sciences, through College of Health, through engineering. It's very easy to do, especially because we have a large portion of our degree. Students are required to take courses outside of business, so it works nicely. So those non-business electives can be focused in a certain area, such as a minor. So it definitely is easy to fit that in.
Yeah, I think we plan it that way. We love our students to be well-rounded, and we know they have a lot of different interests, so that's just marvelous. I have another one here, and this actually relates to a lot of different questions. So I'm going to ask quickly, our sophomore year, right? What makes our sophomore year different is that the students start the introductory course in every major. And I see this lovely question saying, our freshman hasn't declared businesses and oh, here we go. So if your student is curious about the majors, there's a lot of ways that they can learn about what the majors are. Clearly Biz 1, right? They're beginning to hear about the majors and the professions. In the Biz 3, they're beginning to think about their purpose so they could start to identify that fit. And then they take the introductory course in every major, starting in the sophomore year. So they've heard about it. They've interviewed people about it, and now they're actually experiencing the classroom to see, is this really a good fit for me? What's the advising for the sophomores like?
Yeah, so that's a good question. With the sophomores, we also meet one-on-one with the students. Sophomore year is when they declare their major. So we require that students declare their major by the kind of middle to end of the second semester. And the reason for that is we want them to know what classes they need to register for in the junior year, which is when they usually start the major. And we have, as Dean Zalatan had said, we do a lot of programming to help students figure out what major they want. We have some major orientation sessions going on right now. Each of the different departments has their faculty present to the students on what's required in the major, what alumni are doing with that major, different paths that you can take, and those have been helpful to students. And so we do encourage, especially sophomores, to attend those information sessions. And one other piece, once a student declares a major, they continue to work with their primary academic advisor, but they also get a faculty mentor in addition. So that's an expert in the field so it would be a faculty member from the department that they are majoring in. And if they have 2 majors, they would have 2 faculty mentors. And that person can help them as they're thinking about what course they may want to take for a specific career, get some career advice from them, professional advice. So it's a good partnership where they have an advisor and a mentor.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking here. I see a lot of different questions, and I think there are probably some folks in the audience who have students in either arts and sciences or engineering, and they were asking about if their first year student hasn't declared their major in business, can they still drop by advising to learn more about the majors? And I think if your student is not in the business school, they can't declare a business major, but they can transfer to get a business degree. And the way that they would do that is through Emily. Do you want to just give just a real quick skinny on how that process works and where they could get information?
Sure. So we regularly hold we call them college change information sessions. So, and they're via Zoom. They're posted on our website, and where I go over all of how to change colleges, what our curriculum entails, what students should be taking to stay on track. So we ask that students attend a college change information session as their very first step. Once they've attended that and they have more questions, if they want to talk about, like, is this feasible, they can definitely meet with me one-on-one, and we'll go through our curriculum and kind of see how they can still, catch up to.
And there are several different kinds of ways students can engage, even if they're not in the business school. In business, there's a marketing minor, there's the business minor, there's entrepreneurship. So I think going to the college change session, you actually learn about other alternatives to study business, and it's a great way to get to understand how to craft your personalized education, which kind of also makes me think about the clubs and the organizations and the different experiences that are available to students. I see somebody has written about the study abroad programs and how one might do study abroad. Maybe you could just kind of open the floor to how do students get engaged outside the classroom, and where do they go to get this information to find out about it? So most of our outside of the classroom activities are for business students, but there are many that are open to students from outside the college. I don't know who would like to take that one. Maybe Chiquita wants to start. And
for sure. Emily, you want to start with study abroad, and then I'll follow up with the colleges?
And here's the precise question. It says, can you talk about opportunities to study business while studying abroad, perhaps a summer program in another country that combines earning credits while working in an unpaid internship?
Yes, we have, during normal times, we have plenty of students that go abroad in different ways. So you can take a semester abroad, and where students will take some business classes abroad, some arts and sciences and liberal arts types classes when they're abroad. If they go for a full semester, and students have gone everywhere and anywhere on those types of programs. We also offer a number of summer programs. Some are specific to different types of majors. We have like Lehigh in Belgium, Lehigh in Prague, and there's others as well. And then there's also, and those are popular, a good way to kind of catch up or get ahead with courses, and those usually have an internship component. We also have Lehigh offers some winter term programs as well. So those are going to be shorter term programs. We have a group of seniors that go to, it's Singapore and Vietnam, is that right?
Hi, Vietnam.
It's changed over the years, yeah. So that's a wonderful program too. And we also offer Lehigh offers a bunch of different scholarships, so fully funded summer programs. We have our Tauk Scholars Program. There's the Iacocca Internship Program. So
all alumni.
So a lot of different types of opportunities, and that's something where you would work with the student would work with their advisor to map out an academic plan. It's not uncommon. I'll have a student email me and say, I would like to minor in political science, double major in finance and BIS, go abroad for a semester and do a summer internship. And that, we don't even hesitate. That's normal to get that kind of request. And so we'll map out like a semester by semester academic plan to see how to make it work, what's kind of the best path forward. So.
It's awesome. The students see all these wonderful combinations, and our advisors are excellent puzzle solvers. They can help them figure it out, and they know when the courses are offered. And sometimes that's a little more challenging for students to figure out on their own. I see a question here. What is the core curriculum for a second semester first year student? Do you want to address that one? And also kind of relates to some of the other folks who are here on our panel.
Sure. So I'll just kind of give you a quick kind of overview. Usually in the spring semester, our students will be taking ECO 45, which is statistical methods. They'll be taking Management 43, which Matt just talked about, the organizational behavior class. If they haven't, I know some of the students are in the business communication and business analytics sequence right now, but if they haven't taken it in the fall, they'll take that in the spring, and they might, or if they're in it in the fall, they might take English in the spring. And then the other classes that they'll take are mostly going to be their non-business electives. So it might be humanities, social science, natural science, those types of classes. In kind of unique cases, if a student has sophomore standing, so let's say if your student came in with a lot of either transfer credits, AP credits, anything like that, as a first year student, if they have sophomore standing after the first semester, they could even begin some of those 100 level core classes as well.
Mm-hmm. A lot of opportunities. It seems a little more regular in the first year, and then the ordering and what students take is going to be very dependent on what it is that they want to accomplish going forward. Chiquita, I'm going to throw another one your way. They want to. I'm a mom of a first year student, and I'm curious to know what type of campus recruiting typically takes place at Lehigh. Now, I know you're not in career services, but you have a pretty good understanding, I believe, of just generally what kind of recruiting might happen on campus and what types of companies come.
Sure. I mean, a good variety. Every fall and spring, so I guess one time each semester, our Center for Career and Professional Development hosts a career fair. The fall is typically the larger fair with over 100 companies attending. The fair was virtual this fall, and still there were over 100 companies that attended,
Awesome.
so it's very successful. In terms of the types of companies, we see a lot within the finance and accounting realms. I would say in general, if you think about sort of a company has to be recruiting a large enough pool to make it worthwhile to travel to campus to do the recruiting. So typically it is larger scale companies with a more set recruiting cycle that we see come to campus or host interviews on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, again, we have this virtual platform called Handshake, which is such a great resource because companies are able to post their jobs and internships on this platform. What's nice is when an employer logs in, they have to specifically select, I want this opportunity posted at Lehigh, right? So we are a target school for the companies that are posting in Handshake. And so there you'll see so many more opportunities posted than those who just come to campus. And that is opportunities across the board, in finance, accounting, business information systems, all of our majors, large scale, small scale. And we're seeing a lot of virtual internships posted right now as well. So
great.
Again, even though it may look a little bit different, our companies are still out here recruiting.
And for Biz one of the attendance points came from signing up and creating a Handshake profile. So all students out there,
early, yes.
Yeah, they all should have access to Handshake. They may not have built out their profile, but they can do so and get good coaching from Chiquita from the Career Lab. And don't you do a resume in Biz 3? Don't they do work in that? Matt, I know that they can go to the communication consultants. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about their services.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Biz 3, they work on a college level resume, getting that ready in their first year in the College of Business so that they can continue to build it throughout their college career. We really want them to be thinking about adding to that over time, and they'll be making changes incrementally, but over the time of their college career, it'll build up and their resume will be very impressive by the end.
Oh, no doubt.
And we'll visit that resume and go ahead, Chiquita.
Sorry.
We're excited about this.
I just wanted to add in that, annually the Center for Career and Professional Development does survey our graduating seniors to see where they're going. And so that report is available on the website that would list the specific companies. I think they typically list the top 20 that have hired in terms of number of hires per company, and then average salaries by major. So that's a nice detailed report if you want that information.
Yeah, all you have to do is you go to the Lehigh website and you type in the search bar, first destination outcomes or career outcomes. I think it's first destination, and that will take you to a year by year listing of what the outcomes were in terms of what they do when they graduate, where they work, very high level and average salaries. So Matt, you were going to continue, I think. Did we cut you off?
That's all right, yeah. So they take up that resume again in their junior year and polish it up again. But no matter where they are in the curriculum, they can use the services of the Rauch Center for Business Communication, which I have the privilege of directing.
Mhm.
And we've just started a new program last year to have peer tutors. These are upperclassmen in the business college who will work with students on their communication challenges. So if they're polishing up a resume for the first time, they can meet with someone who's already done that. If they're working on a
Their
paper
Biz
for
One
the class
presentation.
or there's one presentation in the coming weeks, they can meet with one of our tutors to work through that. Students at Lehigh who take advantage of the resources that are offered to them, they definitely get more out of their education, not only a higher GPA, but just deeper learning and a more thorough understanding. Now, all of those things have moved online, so we're ready to help your students through Zoom work on their papers, their presentations, even things outside of school. If they have, for instance, if maybe their cousin is getting married and they want to give a toast, we can help them with that. If it's communication related, we're ready to serve them.
That's awesome.
And there are all kinds of resources like that all across campus. So we just want students to be aware of them and get engaged. And I hope that we see several of your students coming to the Rauch Center for Business Communication and getting some help on their assignments this term.
That when you started talking about moving into the next year and getting ready for being a sophomore, your class goes from freshman to junior. That sophomore program, Chiquita, student to professional program, could you expand just a little bit about the sophomore year? And I want to be sure if there are any sophomore parents out there, give an ear to this. How do they find out about the student to professional program? Because this is new and it's very exciting to help the students along this career pathway. There's a lot of interest in that among the parents, I'm sure, among the students. So tell us a little bit more.
Sure. So this year was the launch of the Student to Professional program. We've been rolling out this new professional development alongside the new curriculum. So last year it started with the project in Biz 1 that you've heard so much about, the projects in Biz 3, and now launching, now that those students have moved on to their sophomore year, we're launching the Student to Professional program. And so the idea is really for the students to take that foundation that they built in their first year, learning about those resources, having to do an informational interview. We do put them on the spot a little bit and have them practice their elevator pitch, right? So we want them to get some of those nerves out, just learn about the resources in their first year. And then in their sophomore year, now it's time to personalize it and utilize these resources towards your own career and professional development. So the Student to Professional program it actually has 3 required components. So we ask students to do a mock interview. We have a very cool platform called Big Interview, where the students can actually practice doing a virtual and video interview, which everyone can imagine that's now, it was already becoming the wave. And so we have been fully immersed in this video interviewing now for our students in terms of their internships and full-time opportunities. We ask the students to do an informational interview. So now that you're exploring the different function areas, right? You're taking these intro classes and you're starting to narrow down what you want to major in. Interview someone to find out more about the opportunities in the field or about a specific job title. And then we also ask students to actually declare that major, right? Take that step, declare the major officially. Once our students declare a major, they get tapped into that academic department. And as you can imagine, a lot of our employers will directly outreach to, the accounting department, the marketing department, whichever, to say, we have this opportunity or we're hosting this event. And so students can't be on the department mailing list until they've declared a major. So, we want students to actually take that step. And then the other portion of this program is more self-directed, where we're asking the students, here is a tremendous list of events happening throughout the semester, choose 2, right? So nothing overwhelming, it doesn't have to be kind of overbearing, right? We want, obviously, academics are still that priority, but choose 2 events that are going to enrich your personal professional development. And so that list of events, I've partnered with our student clubs, I've partnered with the academic departments. I have a speaker series this fall semester that it's 7 different alumni who are having sessions and Q&A sessions with our students. So it's a wide variety so that students truly can find things that interest them. And so once you've done those 5 things, so the mock interview, informational interview, declare your major, and attend 2 events, then you've completed the program. But, again, the students are actually putting those skills into practice. And we want to make sure that our students know that you have to start engaging in these processes early on. We don't want the first time that you practice an interview to be your real interview. You want to make sure that you have those opportunities, that you're getting prepared so that when the different things come up to apply for, and it can be as simple as applying to become a Griffin, applying to be in a sorority or fraternity, all of these different things, you'll have to submit a resume, you'll have to go through an interview process. So why not take the time to practice it and be prepared so that it can be much less stressful on the other side. So once the students complete the program, they will receive a digital badge as well as a physical padfolio so that when we're back to in-person events, they'll be interview ready and, just know that they have gained those skill sets. So I'm really excited about the program. Like I said, it's launched for the first time this fall. I've done a lot of outreach to the sophomores to get them involved. There's a course site, which all of their classes already have a course site. So this program has one as well. And that's where they can go through to complete each piece.
So these course sites are, I'm sure a lot of students have them in high school, but they're the electronic location that a lot of courses will post their materials, their syllabi, you submit assignments there, and Chiquita very cleverly incorporated her student to professional site amongst those, and students spend a lot of time on them. So families out there, be thinking about student to professional program. That's really important. I see a couple quick questions here that I'm going to answer. One is the business school considering a pass-fail option this term due to COVID-19 and the challenges of online learning? The decision to make pass-fail courses is not done at Lehigh at the college level. So I can honestly say no, because we can't make that decision. That decision would be made up at the university level. And to my knowledge, there aren't conversations about that happening. I know that we had that last spring when we converted to remote or online in the middle of the semester around March, right after spring break. But we haven't had pass-fail grading since. A student can opt to take pass-fail for electives in the Bachelor of Science in Business and Economics program, but that deadline is already passed, so we don't have that option. Another quick one that I can answer very quickly says, can you talk about business versus the ideas major / the honors business and engineering major? So I'll just give a real high level. Happy to provide more information and links if you email us. We're going to send you at the end of this session, we're going to give you an announcement that gives you our website, and you're free to email any of us for additional information. But it's about the business program is a degree. So we actually have 3 business degrees. One of the business degrees is the Bachelor of Science in Business and Economics, and that's the one that Emily Ford oversees the advising for. That's the one you declare the major in the sophomore year. That's the biggest business program, about 1,200, 1,300 students, all told, freshmen to seniors. The IBE, Integrated Business and Engineering, is another degree. That one is an honors program, so students have to apply to be accepted in that. You can apply when you come into Lehigh, into that program. They accept about, I think this year was about 45 people. And then you can also apply as a freshman going into your sophomore year. And you can actually look for the Integrated Business and Engineering program up on the website. The big difference, obviously, is that it's an honors program. It also is integrated with engineering. So while the Bachelor of Science in Business and Economics is all business, IBE, you take both the engineering core and the business core, and you could choose a major in either engineering or business. So it's a little different in that regard. It's still AACSB business accredited, and a lot of students will, it isn't engineering accredited, but you can take yet another year and finish up. So a lot of students do it they even do it in 4 years if they bring enough AP and transfer credit in, or AP credit. And that enables them to get their ABET, or engineering accredited degree. And there's yet another one called Computer Science and Business, hot, really great degree program that's accredited in computer science ABET, engineering, as well as in business. And those students are in Biz 1, they're in Matt's course. I know they're in the communication sequence. Same thing with the IB students. They take Matt's course, business communication, they take business analytics. So a lot of the things we've been talking about are common across those 3 degrees. Let's see. I guess a very important question, it says here, is there a business fraternity at Lehigh? I don't think so. Not that to my knowledge. You mean like if you're meaning a residential fraternity, I don't believe so. We do have an honor society, Beta Gamma Sigma, that I'm a proud advisor and member of Beta Gamma Sigma. That's for the top 10% of the class in undergraduate programs. And we have our inductions of juniors and seniors every year in the spring. And I know we have a really active student leadership group for Beta Gamma Sigma. We talked to all the freshmen too. Didn't we? The Beta Gamma Sigma students ran a panel for them. It's a great society. It's only for schools that are AACSB accredited. And so that's great to be a member of. If you want more information, you can look on the website, and then the student officers are listed so your student can reach out to the officers to get a little bit more information. It says here, ooh, this is a good one. Did you talk about the Nasdaq Center in San Francisco and other programs on the West Coast? Oh my goodness, we can talk about those. Tell us about some of the things that are happening with the Nasdaq Center and the business students. Chiquita knows all about this, so we're good.
You know, Startup Academy is, of course, a major one. So Startup Academy is an internship opportunity that takes place over the summer. Students are paired with a startup that's a part of the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center's ecosystem. It's a really cool opportunity because these are early to mid-stage startups, so they typically would not be recruiting an intern on their own. But the Nasdaq Center is giving them structure around hosting an internship. Lehigh, we're providing the interns as well as the cohort of students who are interning over the summer take a 1-credit class that's providing some structure to their experience as well. And we're going into the 4th year of this program, and the students have always raved about it. Typically, we take 12 students who are set in pairs with 6 startups, and they have an amazing opportunity and an amazing experience. This past summer, the Startup Academy had to move to virtual along with most other things. And so, you know, we're going to open the application soon for summer 2021. And Startup Academy is open to sophomores and juniors, current sophomores and juniors. Mm-hmm. There's so many other things also happening. There is, over the winter break, typically a Lehigh Silicon Valley trip where the students travel to California. They're able, again, to visit and see startups and see the culture. And our Lehigh at Nasdaq Center hosts classes throughout the semester. They're having a virtual internship program this fall for students. So, you know, they're ever expanding in the opportunities that they're able to offer to students. And it's really a great partnership and just, again, tremendous opportunity for our students to engage and be able to see the West Coast and, you know, this completely different than than so many of our students looking at New York, just way of work and ecosystem. So it's very cool.
I'll just tell you, when you listen to, if you're a family member student here today and you're hearing all of these opportunities, you can see, wow, there is so much that they can do. And I'm looking over at Emily thinking, wow, I could see talking with your advisor and just trying to figure it out, and Chiquita, and kind of figuring out where you want to do, what your purpose is. It all fits together really well, and there's a lot that you can be doing. Okay, so this is a kind of a forward-looking question. And there's a kind of a compliment in here, so I'm very happy to read this. It says, will there be more opportunities to take in-person classes next spring? My daughter has one of her business classes in person, and she says it's her favorite since she gets a lot more out of it. Well, first of all, it's probably either Biz 3 or Biz 1 if your student is a first-year student, and we're very pleased to hear that the class is so rewarding. We know our instructors feel the same way, we just love seeing our students. I know I miss seeing them in person as well. We are in the process right now of building our course schedules. In fact, it just opened up, when was it, today? The process opened. So we were waiting for some kind of communication about when we should start planning for it, because I know registration will be coming up in the November timeframe. Emily can probably talk more about that. But the faculty are in the process right now of trying to determine what they're going to be teaching, where they're going to be doing it, and then we're going to be putting our schedules together, and the students will be able to try to figure out, with the help of their advisor if they need it, what classes they want to take. So at this point, we're not really sure what the faculty will be delivering. We're not sure what the classroom availability is going to be, but we understand that if we can, we'd very much like to see your students as well. We miss them. But seeing them online, I know I see my class, and it's a lot of fun, especially when they hang out, come in early and hang out afterwards. It's actually a lot of fun, and I enjoy seeing them. Let's see if there are any other questions here. There's so many. One thing that I definitely want to ask about, because we just went through midterms, right, more or less, support, right, in terms of, let's say a student wants to get tutoring. We're kind of in a remote situation now. What kind of support services are available for students, right? Good business students know how to use their resources in order to be successful. And one of the resources that we have are obviously tutoring. Emily, could you tell us a little bit more about the resources that are available for students, especially if they want to get some extra help to be sure that they're really on their game with their classes?
Yeah, so Lehigh offers tutoring in many different capacities. Matt talked about the communication consultants. We have our Center for Academic Success, which is a great resource both for tutoring and as students are thinking about study skills, time management, just taking online classes and how different that is. So the Center for Academic Success is a great resource. They provide this semester, all tutoring is virtual. You could do students can do one-on-one tutoring, or they can do group tutoring, which is more regular. They would have like a weekly time slot with an upper class student who's done well in the course and is the tutor. So through the Center for Academic Success, a bunch of our core business classes have tutoring opportunities. There's also the Math and Writing Center, which is another good resource. Again, they're offering their resource online. Our accounting honors students, they offer tutoring for accounting. So there's many different ways that students can get the tutoring they want. We, on our website, I know we keep referring to our website, but we have a list of tutoring opportunities there that we compile for all the different business classes and what options are available and when. So tutoring is a really important piece. We also encourage students, there's a lot of other resources on campus, as we talked about with the Career Center, which is wonderful. And the Counseling Center has great support for students as well. So we're often working with our colleagues in these other offices to help students. Dean of Students office as well, as they're looking at different types like student engagement. So we work closely with them, and we hope that try and connect our students to the different resources available.
Mm-hmm. And these are free. You post them on our website. We have the schedule. And I will say that the students' faculty are very available. Matt, how do you do your office hours? We'll change a little stories here. How do you do your office hours for your students?
Sure, I have office hours 2 days a week on Tuesday afternoons and Wednesday mornings. And I also offer office hours by appointment. So any student who may be, in a class during the time when I'm, ready to meet them can just sign up, and I'm relatively flexible. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how it works for almost everyone. All the faculty I know are super willing to flex their schedule and meet with the student in person. Those students who take me up on it, I know that they have a more rewarding experience. Everyone's got questions. It's those students who actually come and ask them that, get the answers they need. Mm-hmm. So that's my office hours. Additionally, students are emailing me all the time. I mean, I'm fielding emails from students every hour, at least one. Mm-hmm. And they email me when the time is right for them. which sometimes is 2 a.m. And trust me, the time is not right for me at 2 a.m. They get an answer back from me first thing in the morning that way. So, anytime a student gets in touch, I'm back to them, and I ask my faculty to be back to them within 24 hours. Excepting holidays and weekends, we got to expect that some people have a little time off. So 24 hours, during the business week, and many of them answer emails over the weekend anyway, even though I tell them that they don't have to.
I think, and that's the pervasive culture at Lehigh. I guess one of the big challenges is once that student takes the first step and goes to your Zoom room office hours. I love those Zoom office hours. There's one link in the course site. All the student has to do is have the courage to click that button. They're admitted into the session. Just yesterday, I admitted a team of students to come and meet with me. It was a lot of fun. I just admit them all. I'm like, wait a minute, they're all on the same team, and they all show up in the Zoom room. But once they take that first step, I think they're going to have a lot of rewarding conversations with faculty. I know our faculty find that to be one of the most exciting parts of our job, is to be able to connect with the students during that time. So families and students who are on the call, definitely reach out on those office hours, because we really like that. We like to talk to students during that time. And it's a great opportunity to ask questions. The support Emily mentions is superb. Peer-to-peer is another marvelous way to do it. So I see our time is getting closer. So I have to ask this question. And we always get this question every time we have sessions with parents, our Lehigh families. And they say, okay, so I heard about all these things. I heard about them. I heard about clubs. I've heard about the Rauch Center for Business Communication Consultants. I've heard about the advising group. From that standpoint of experiences outside the classroom, where do students go to find this information? Where can families help direct students to go to find information about these resources and what's happening? Chiquita, why don't you start? Because you've got Lehigh most prominent on your shirt. The other guys have Lehigh too, but we can really see the Lehigh.
Well, I saw it just went into the chat. Our website is always a great place to start. So that's businessundergrad.lehigh.edu. From there, you'll find links to advising, to the student to professional program, to the Rauch Center for Business Communication. You can learn more about our clubs. So we really do try to have it all there in one spot. So I would definitely say our website is a great place to start.
Emily, do you second that?
I do. And when in doubt, or if they're not finding what they want, you can always refer them to their advisor. We're happy to help. That's why we're here. We're here to, sometimes it just means we're redirecting them or connecting them with one of our colleagues, but we're happy to hear from students. So,
and you can find all our smiling faces up on that website, including advising. And advising has this amazing advisor track system. So students can, wherever they are, they can still set up appointments. It's just great. Okay, Matt, do you have any other comments? The website, the right place for your students to go to get to your consultants?
I wouldn't be doing it right if I didn't mention the WAG, which is
oh yes,
we get it.
Yeah, how did we all forget that?
That's a specialized way to describe our weekly newsletter, Week at a Glance. And so in our office, we call it the WAG. But the Week at a Glance newsletter comes out to every student in the college every Sunday, and it's just chock full of so many resources and important guidance. And I know you get a lot of email and things like that come out every week start to look a little like, maybe you could just ignore it. But that one is one you should never ignore. So the Week at a Glance newsletter every Sunday has information about upcoming events and opportunities for networking, for instance, opportunities to meet with industry people who are coming in. Whatever's happening.
Study abroad.
And I'm glad to say that I put something in the WAG every week.
Well, that is
Me too.
Absolutely. And families, if you really want to get a sneak peek, I do believe at that secret website address there, that businessundergrad.lehigh.edu, there's a newsletter link that you can go in and see what had been posted the last week. But what a wonderful conversation to have with your student about what's in the Week at a Glance this week. If they need faculty information, the syllabus. If they want to know how to reach their faculty members, say, did you check the syllabus? because all faculty put their office hours in there, and if they can't find them, they should try to contact their professor by email, because we want to be helpful to our students. So it looks like we are at time. So on behalf of our panel and our awesome Lehigh Business that breaks boundaries with our students every day, and I think you saw millions of examples even in this one call, we want to wish you a very, very happy evening, a happy and healthy semester, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any additional questions. And thank you for those who say thanks for this session. We're delighted to talk with you. Thanks so much, and go Lehigh Business. Take care.